Welcome to Jerry's Fish Room.
All right, guys, welcome back to Jerry's Fish Room. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy New Year. It is January 1st, 2023. I hope all of you all have had a great holiday. I know my Christmas and my New Year's have been wonderful. Greatly appreciate all of you that have supported my channel by watching the videos and giving me the thumbs up and commenting and subscribing. Guys, I appreciate that support. Looking forward to doing more videos this year. Wanted to come to you and kind of kick off in holiday fashion or New Year's fashion, a bit of a New Year's resolution for my hobby. It's going to be a little bit applied to my life as well, but I wanted to kind of focus a little bit about what I can do differently in 2023 with this hobby. I have spent a lot of time doing a lot of different things, from setting up a brand new 180-gallon tank and doing some breeding projects. Unfortunately, somewhat successful, but mostly unsuccessful. And even trying new species like the angelfish for me. Again, struggling with that part of the hobby, but I've done a lot of different things. And so I wanted to just do a little bit of a different focus this year. And the focus around the hobby, or the theme for my hobby this year, is going to be balance. I'm going to take some time and just try to balance out everything in this hobby for me. I think it will make it more enjoyable for me, in the sense of not doing too much, but not doing too little. I'm going to still keep doing the videos. I enjoy sharing the videos. I really enjoy hearing back from you. So guys, if you like what you're hearing, again, give it the thumbs up. But mostly, guys, I really would love to hear from you. Give me some comments, what your thoughts are. Some honesty. Today is going to be a little bit different as I start that process of balance. We're going to take a quick look at the discus tank. We're going to talk about what my plans are, as the discus tank is going to go away in the next 4 or 5 weeks. So I'm going to start that process today. I think it was a great place for me to start implementing that new theme in my hobby of balance. Part of it is going to be a little bit on the downsizing. And I mean downsizing from having 280-gallon tanks, 125-gallon tank. I got 55s and 20s, and I think the tank number will probably stay close to the same, but I'm gonna just kind of downsize specifically that one tank. Hopefully, some of you may like what I'm gonna do. Some of you may be critical of what I'm about to do. I will tell you as I do it. I do have in mind there's going to be a little bit more work involved in keeping up with water changes as I move my discus. So I'm going to start that process. We'll do a quick video. This video will be quick, showing you a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about the future and for these fish and this tank, and what the game plan is. So let's go get started on what's going to happen with the 180. All right, guys. So here is the 180-gallon discus tank. Like I had mentioned in previous videos, I had a lot of good intention when I set this tank up. I started with 12 or 13 discus that I got from Hans. These are the Stedker discus, except for that big guy over there in the corner. That big guy I'm really not sure. I got him from one of my local pet stores. Unfortunately, fortunately for me, he's been one of the better ones. As you can tell by size, you can see just in comparison that blue diamond that's above him is quite small. And then you move over to here, and you've got 4 more of the Stedker discus. And again, you can see how small they are in relationship to the big guy that I got from another local fish store. I've never been able to figure out this problem. I had them in a smaller tank. I moved them over to this 180-gallon tank because, again, I had a great anticipation of, You know, I started out with 12 of them, and they were probably about 2.5, maybe 2 inches, something like that. And what I didn't lose, quite frankly, just never really grew. So I don't know if it's a situation of my water conditions. I have pH of 7.6. My TDS is around 280 uh, parts per million for minerals or whatever for hardness. You know, I do know that, again, that guy right there, you know, I had him since he was 2.5 inches, got him from a different store, and he grew just fine in my water parameter. So I don't know if it's a relationship with the Stenker or what. My understanding was Stenker were a whole lot easier to keep, that they could tolerate harder water, but just never really got where I wanted to go. So, with that being said, as I may have stated before, if you all have been out pricing discus are very expensive. So the plan for me now is this 180 really hasn't developed into what I wanted it to, and Brandon has some plans for it. I don't know what they are, so you're going to go have to check out his channel as we go through this process of setting this up. But Brandon is going to take over this tank. I'm going to disassemble it. I'm going to take some of the plants, move them around. And I have a lot of other fish in here. I got some ember tetras. I have some rummy nose. I have some neons. I have about 3 or 4 corydoras that are chilling out in here. And then somewhere, hopefully he's still in here. I have only seen him once in a while. I have an adult super red bristlenose in here as well. So step one for me is we've got to figure out what I'm going to do with them. Now, I talked to you guys and said that I wasn't going to be setting up another tank. Initially, I was going to set up a 75 in my bedroom, but the wife and I have some plans to kind of do some remodeling in here, and I don't really want to get into moving a tank around, and there's really not another place for me to set the 75 up. So part of the balance issue is how can I deal with these fish from the standpoint of balance. How do I handle this? And so let's go show you what I'm going to do. Here's where I'm going to start making my changes. So this is my 55-gallon tank. The initial plan was I wanted a bunch of angels in here. I've got one angel, and part of my thing has been running through. I don't know if I've been going through a dominance thing with angelfish or what, but one of the things that's been going on that I've had is if anytime I have more than one angelfish in here, I'm losing one. So I know that's really not supposed to be the case. So what I'm going to try to do, and this is where some of you guys may agree with what I'm getting ready to do, and many of you probably will disagree, is I'm going to plant this tank up some more. I'm going to throw some additional plants. I'm going to take that big Amazon sword out from the discus tank, put it in here, get this tank planted up pretty solid, and then I'm going to start the process of moving my discus and some of my smaller embers and things into this 55. Now I do know that this tank will be a bit overstocked. I have plans in the future that potentially to take some of the smaller tetras or rasboras and move them into a couple of other tanks that I've got for projects that I'm going to get ready to work on. But I will tell you that I'm going to be moving the 6 discus in here. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I've had those discus for more than a year, year and a half, and the smallest discus is about 3 inches. The largest discus that's going to be is about 4.5 inches, 5 inches. And so normally I would not recommend anything more than a 75, and we could get away with 6 discus by themselves. This is a 55, but I will be upping my water changes. So I do know that part of the balance of downsizing is going to be I will have to do more frequent water changes on this tank. I do about one every 2 weeks on this tank right now, and I'll probably have to go to one every week or 5 days. I will monitor it closely. Hopefully the plants will help with that, but this is where the discus are going to go in. All right, guys, so step one for me was, again, I know I'm increasing the bio load on this tank with bringing these fish over. And so I wanted to move those Amazon swords, which they eat a lot of ammonia and a lot of nitrate. So I wanted to move them from the discus tank over to here. And I did it before I'm going to do water changes. I'm also probably going to go grab one of those crypts and put in here. Again, I want to populate this up as much as I can with plants to help offset some of that bio load, but nothing will completely offset it to counteract probably some additional water changes. So again, I will be monitoring this. But step one, and I did this way because as you can tell, all of the junk that gets stirred up by me messing around in the substrate is now floating around in the water. So I'll do a water change before I'll go get those discus and move them in here. All right, guys, there you go. As you can see, there's quite a few more plants in there than what I had in there before. Added two of the crypts, 2 or 3 crypts actually, and then 2 of the large Amazon storage. Moved some of the decor around on the bottom. Added that Ceres stone, which will carry a little bit more bacteria in there as well. This tank is run on air and 2 sponge filters. Now that may change eventually, as I may end up putting, I'm thinking of going to a Shark Pro, something I can put and adjust flow on to help keep things clean, but also to help with the beneficial bacteria. But I believe that the sponge filters, they've been up and running in this tank for probably 7 months or so. So they are significantly stocked up with beneficial bacteria. And then, of course, the tank itself has been sustained for quite some time, 7-8 months now since I've done this whole project. And everything is well seeded. So I'm not anticipating a whole lot of problem with it. And again, I am going to gradually bring these fish over. I am only going to bring over 3 this week, 3 the following week, but while closely monitoring what the impact is, and then bring in a bunch of the smaller fish at that point, and then probably distribute some of those to the other tanks as well. So that's kind of where we're at. So let's go do the water change and see if we can't clean this up. And once things settle down, we'll give you a new shot with the 3 discus in here. All right, so we are at water change. First thing that I did is I have a small, I don't know, you'd call it a python. Show you what I've got here while you look at the fish. So I have a small python here that you can see. Probably the diameter of it's about 1 inch. The hose is probably not more than, I don't know, 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8, something to that effect. I know it's a little blurry. I use that to help get a lot of the loam off of the sand, because it will do a good job sucking that up from the sand without a whole lot of sand going up. And so I'll touch this tank up doing that, and then basically I have this VivoSun submersible pump, and basically run it out that window. It's probably not the best setup because of the way things were in this room. I wasn't quite sure how to do this because of the access, but I couldn't really put any tanks on this wall here other than this little 29, and so it just kind of presented itself to where the 125 had to sit in front of that window. So I have a little step stool that every time I do water changes in this room, I get up and then I open that window and hang the hose out back. But that's kind of how I change the water on all these tanks in here. And so I'm going to step away because I'm wanting to do about a 50% water change on this tank, and then we'll get it refilled and get the discus moved over. Alright guys, now we're at the point where I'm filling the tank up. The tank water is around 83 degrees. I'm kind of bringing in about 85-degree water. I want to get it up just a little bit more so that my discus are a little more comfortable, but at the same time not stress out the fish that are in here. So that's kind of a 2-for-1, as you see what I'm doing to balance my hobby. by moving some fish around and getting things reset up and refocused and ultimately dialed in is what I want to do. You get the second thing you get to see is how I do my maintenance. And this is what I go through pretty much about every 2 weeks on this tank, which I said earlier in the video. I will probably escalate that to at least once a week, if not once every 5 days, doing minor water changes to make sure that everything is kept under control, and adding the fish slowly and gradually. And when I do this, I will add some Fritzyme 7 to the tank to help offset that. And we'll see where we go from here. Let me get the fish, get this filled up, get the fish in here, and the tank cleaned up, and I'll come back and close this video out. Alright, so one thing I almost forgot is now that I've got these new plants in here, especially the Crypts and the Amazon Swords that are in there. I have some stem plants, and I don't know all of those plants. So if you guys may know these plants, specifically this one right here, and this one right here, and then these right here, I got them from Dustin's fish tanks or Dustin's plants, and just bought the bundle. So they send you a mishmash. They do send you a card with a bunch of plants on it, so you can kind of compare. But I am not real familiar with plants, and some of the pictures were kind of hard to see. So if you know those three plants, I'd love to know what they are. But one of the things that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting some root tabs in. I use the Seachem Flourish tabs. I put them in about once every 2 to 3 months, and I load down the Amazons with 4 or 5 root tabs around each one because they are definitely strong feeders. So I'm going to go do that now, and then we'll come back and see how the tank turned out. Alright guys, so everybody is in here. I put the 3 smallest, kind of hard, they're kind of chilling out behind there. There's that angelfish of mine in there. And then there's a blue one, the little blue one is in here as well. But this is kind of the final setup, and we'll monitor it, and we'll go from there. I'm going to go ahead and turn the lights off on this tank. That way they can kind of really chill out and de-stress. A lot of stress moving from one tank to the other. But they were fairly easy for me to catch, so they didn't get stressed too bad. So we're going to give this a roll and see how it goes. Alright guys, so that was kind of the process for step 1 of creating a balance in this hobby for me, downsizing a little bit, making things a little more manageable. The focus again, as a part of the balance this year, is going to be trying to get these tanks dialed in without doing tremendous amounts of changes. And as I go through some of those processes or steps, we'll videotape those. I really, being on YouTube for a year and a half, not sure how I'm going to take this channel, but other than to just share my experiences, as I said from the get-go, because, man, if you want to learn about a bunch of different topics, there's so many videos out there that have all the information that you need to do this hobby. In fact, that's mostly how I learn. So, you know, as ideas pop into my head, you know, we're gonna shoot some videos. I'm gonna try to be more consistent. You know, throw in some species profiles and things like that, and of course any changes that come. But all in all, just want to try to keep some balance, because I think ultimately balance, having just the right amount, you get more joy out of what you're doing. And so, so there you have it. I know that this this process, trust me when I say it'll be less work. It takes me maybe 20 minutes or something like that to do a water change on the 55. This was a little different because I moved some plants, I moved some fish, also videotaped the process, so it took me a couple hours to get this whole thing done. But this will only take 15-20 minutes, maybe once, twice a week, depending on how much I need. I've got this 20-gallon planted nursery tank that has 1 angelfish in it right now. Then I'll plan on throwing some of the nano fish that I have in that tank, the discus tank, over in there. and it'll help keep the plants fed as well. Again, it's not for really looks or anything. It's just more or less for me to access and get some plants out when I need them. And that's kind of where I'm at, guys. So I hope you liked the video. I hope you guys will share, give me a thumbs up. But again, most important to me this year that I would like to see different with this channel is interaction. I want to hear from you guys. I want your thoughts, your questions. If you don't agree with what I'm doing here, I want to hear that. Trust me, it's a process where we learn from each other. And so a couple shout outs to start the new year. Want you guys to go check out Ben Ochart. Go check out his channel. Really, really good friend of mine. Go check out The Blind Fish Keeper. Check out his channel. If you really like a lot of science and stuff that you can kind of get, go check out Primetime Aquatics. They're great as well. Love that channel. If you're looking for some fish, my fish room sponsor, Dan Connor, Consolidated Fish Farms. They're over on the west coast of Florida. Go check his website out. I've got a link in the description that'll get you a discount if you're interested. If you want some merchandise, some Jerry's Fish Room merchandise, you can check out the link in Teespring. But with all that being said, guys, one thing I want us to remember actually is two things. Balance is the focus, and keep loving the fish.